Welcome to the Coachzing Show, offering you the latest creative content marketing tips to help you work less, earn more, and help more people. Are you a coach zinger yet? Join the community where the world's best coaches, therapists, authors, and speakers come to discover the latest industry trends and partner with other like-minded professionals. Go to coachzing.com/community to join. And now, here's your host, Doug Foresta.
Hello and welcome back to the Coachzing Show. This is Doug Foresta. As always, this is a show we help you, coaches, therapists, speakers, and authors to work less, earn more, and help more people through creative content marketing. And my guest today with me is my good friend Shannon Hernandez. We're going to talk about copywriting with heart, and I think this is a really, really important topic. If you are sick of seeing copy that makes you want to turn your computer off and run away, then yeah, you need to listen to this episode. Or if you're writing copy that makes people want to turn their computer off and run away, then you'll definitely want to check this out. Shannon Hernandez is the founder of The Writing Whisperer. She's been passionate about writing since a very early age. One of her unique talents lies in helping small business owners and brands solidify the words and content they use across a variety of platforms so they can connect more completely with their markets. She's a leading voice in the world of authentic business writing, writes regularly for the Huffington Post, and was named on the top 100 websites for writers by the Right Life. Shannon's memoir, Breaking the Silence, chronicles her exit out of education after 15 years and provides readers an intimate view of her journey to business ownership, finding happiness, and reinvention. You can visit her at thewritingwhisperer.com, thewritingwhisperer.com. Shannon Hernandez, welcome to the Coachzing Show.
Thanks so much, Doug. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. So, yes, let's talk about copywriting with heart. And first, maybe we can start with actually, let me ask you this question. What is copywriting with heart? What does that mean?
Yeah, so I think we should maybe back up one more step and talk about content writing versus copywriting.
Sure.
Because it's a common misconception that it's all just the same, and it's not, right? So copywriting, which is what we're talking about today, is writing that is encouraging someone to do something. Usually you're trying to sell a service or product. So we're talking email marketing campaigns, sales pages, things of that nature. Content writing, on the other hand, is like blogging and podcasting and things that are meant to educate, entertain, or inform the audience.
So copywriting is really about it's about things that would sell or influence. Is that the idea?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And copywriting with heart came about when I was. It's actually a class that I teach called Copywriting with Heart. And I realized that when I got into the world of copywriting that there was just so much sleazy copy out there. Like I was one of those people that you just said, like you would want to run away from your computer, close it, and like go screaming down the street. And the reason why is because you can see right through that, right? Like here's a great example. When people offer these programs and, they're listing all these things in the program and they say, oh, and this program is normally $1,500.
Yeah.
$1,599, but for today, you can get it for $99.
I know. And I'm like, well, that's amazing. What a discount.
Yeah, what a discount. But also it's like, first of all, it just cheapens your brand. Like, why would you even put anything out like that? Why would you create something that's worth $15.99 and sell it for $99?
Right.
Doesn't even make sense.
No. And what other area of life would that happen, right? It's like, this car is normally, $25,000, but for today you can have it for just $300. You'd be like, what's wrong with that car?
Yeah, so it was that idea. And also, if you've ever gone to, you click through on a link, you're genuinely interested in whatever, maybe it's a coaching program or they're trying to, it's a book they've written or something. And then you have to scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. Like you spend 10 minutes scrolling just to get to the bottom of the page to figure out the price, which is all you wanted to know in the first place, right? So these are called long form sales pages. And I don't write them. I don't believe in them. And if I click over to somebody's website and I have to scroll, I don't buy their stuff if they're going to do those kind of tactics. Because really, what do you need to know? You need to know the title, what you're going to get, the price, maybe a couple testimonials, and like go on with life. I don't need you to be trying to convince me for 10 minutes to get whatever this thing is, right?
Yeah.
So this is how Copywriting with Heart was actually born. And when I started using the branding, I started saying I work with heart-centered entrepreneurs and authors. And that was a big defining moment for my brand, because I know when somebody calls me and they're not heart-centered and they're only out for X, Y, and Z and they need to get 1,000 clicks, I don't work with those people, because that's not how I think businesses should be built and how relationships are built long-term. And it just doesn't feel good. It feels icky to me.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wanted to explore that because I was watching a video the other day and this guy was talking about how to like drive traffic to your site and all this. And it was like the standard kind of internet marketing stuff. And I had that same feeling of like, this doesn't feel right to me. But what do you think that is? I mean, what is it about those tactics, about the, buy now, whatever those tactics are that you think doesn't feel right to, people, I guess, that would call themselves heart-centered?
Yeah, I think it has to do with authenticity and making it personal to the one person who's reading that page. Now, in your case, you're watching a video, right? So,
Yeah.
well, I don't care, 1,000,000, 1,000 people who watch the video, but you should create the video as if one person is watching that video and you're speaking right to that one person at that moment in time, even though there might be 1,000 people watching it at one time.
Yeah.
It's about connection and authenticity and, using marketing messages that are real, and that means something. So if you're just standing there, and in this case, what you're describing, and, go to my website, like that's a demand anyway. How many people really want to do demands in life?
I was just saying this the other day. How many of us, right, like to be told what to do, right? Do this. Yeah. Go do this, Shannon. That. Can you say a little bit? Can you give us some tips about what are some things? I mean, you just said, for example, avoid long form sales letters, things like that. But what are some things that, and also the thing about speak to the one person, but what are some other things that we can do to add more heart and authenticity to our copy?
Yeah, I think the first thing is just be real. Like, just be a real person. And, copywriting is about making a connection. That's what it's about. Nobody's going to buy from you if they're not connected to the idea or the product or the service anyway. So why not make that personal, emotional connection in your copy? And the way that you do that is that first you have to know your brand voice, and you have to be able to understand that it needs to be consistent all the way across. So if somebody comes to my about page, they get a very heart-centered story about who I am and what I'm doing. And then if they go to a sales page, it should match, and sometimes less is more. I think that's a really good point too, is my sales pages for my classes, for things I write for other people, they're very basic, but they're basic and they're filled with information. It's not too much information, and it's not trickery, and it's not sleazy, right? So getting to the point, making that emotional connection. And I think, and you and I have talked about this often, is the way that you do that is through story. Right? So even if you open your sales page with the paragraph, and I've done this before for myself and for people that I write for, I'm really excited about this program because I dreamed it up one night, and then I went and told it to my friends, and lo and behold, they signed up, and it was a transformational experience. Like, that's going to get a lot more interest than some 10 bullet points about I don't even know what. Like, it has to make a connection somehow. So that would be the first thing I would say. And then just really being authentic in your marketing messages and, telling personal stories, telling when you have a struggle. And some of this falls into the content writing. So like if you have an email newsletter, or that you're making connections with your audience and that you're a real person, because in the end, that's what people want. They want a real person on the other side. And especially if you're going to spend money with this person, like, why would you want to spend money?
Right. Who are you?
Yeah. If you don't even know who the person is, and a lot of people do it. A lot of people spend money on things like, oh, this is $15.99 and now it's $99. But those same people are coming to me a year later and they're like, I really didn't get anything out of it. Like, now I need to learn how to write the content or the copy.
Shannon, the other thing I was curious about, I was going to ask you about that I've seen lately that bothers me is there's a whole industry I feel like that's come out of it's like the fake heart people. So there's people who kind of take in some of the principles in there, and they're like, now I'm going to share my vulnerability story. I'm just like you, and but you can, but it still is like, but then it's like buy now, buy now, buy now. I'm curious if you've seen that. Like, do you know what I mean by the fake heart people? It's like
Yeah. And you know what? Just like you said, it creates a disconnect, right? So,
yeah,
first of all, people aren't stupid. The general
right.
people are not stupid, and they're going to see through this fake heart,
That's
fake
what I'm calling it.
authenticity, or
Yeah,
whatever we
yeah,
call it.
yeah. Fake authenticity. That's right.
And you know what? If you're going to tell a story, and then at the end, buy now, buy now, buy now, like what was the purpose of the story then, or what's the purpose of the product? Like, why didn't you maybe work with a copywriter to get the message a little more consistent? Or, there's a lot of things that can be done with that. And people see through that stuff. It's not brain science,
Yeah, I know. It's like a fake leather couch, you're never gonna believe that it's an actual leather couch. Like once you sit down on it, and it's like, yeah. I have seen that though lately. I've just seen a lot of these people who've like, they have like the phony sincerity story that isn't true. I'm just like you. I also struggle to get clients, but now look at me with my Maserati.
The people that are driving me crazy lately are all the people who are talking about, I made 6 figures in my business this month, and I'm going to teach you how to do it too.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of them. And I've actually been thinking about this, Doug. Like, why is this driving me bananas? But
Yeah.
I think part of it is just because first, if it's true, if you made 6 figures in your business, you probably had to put out 5.5 figures to make those 6 figures. So it's a lie. You didn't really make the 6 figures, right?
Right. Right.
And secondly, why do you have to tell people that? Like, what is it in the ego that you need to go around telling people how much money you're making every month so that you can get clients and teach them how to make that much every month? Like, it just doesn't sit well with me at all.
Yeah. No, it makes a lot of sense. And the thing too about, knowing some of the behind the scenes of those things, it's like people go, I made, 5 figures this weekend. But what they don't tell you is, they've spent 6 months building up whatever that was. So yeah, they made 5 figures last weekend, but it took them 6 months to actually make it. Like they didn't just wake up in the morning. Nobody wakes up in the morning and just makes 5 figures unless you're maybe Tony Robbins or something like that. But he's been building his empire for years. So yeah, it's not. Again, it's disingenuous. Let me ask you this question though, because so there's one side of copywriting where it's all about. Are you familiar with like the Dan Kennedy, right? Like the really like go after people's shame and guilt and make them feel bad about themselves. And here's a question. I guess the question is, on the other side though, the other side of it would be, I guess, copy where you're not galvanizing people to action. So I'm wondering about your thoughts about how do you have copy that has heart and that's authentic and genuine, but yet at the same time galvanizes people, encourages people, inspires people to take action on whatever it is that you're offering.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a fine balance. What I've found in the copy I do for myself and those that I do for other is that copy needs to be supported by the content. And that's why I really talk a lot about providing, building a voice for yourself and building a brand for yourself and building the expertise through the content. Because as you know, there's a lot going on online, right? If I send out a newsletter about a class I have coming up called Branding for Writers and Authors, you better believe those people who are interested, they're probably going to go look at my website and see if I know what I'm talking about. Like, are there any articles over there? People aren't just going to push the button and buy, right? So I think you have to be able to have the content to back up the copy, which is going to make the sales in the end. And that content needs to be heart-centered so that people can feel that connection when they're reading your stuff or they're watching your videos or your periscopes or listening to your podcasts or however you have been engaging them. And I think engaging is a word that, engaging copy and engaging content. And it's a relationship that you build. And I think you and I had this discussion that someone you were talking with said, yeah, and even a conversation is content. Like
Right.
that's how you build a relationship with people, is you extend the conversation.
Ted Rubin.
Ted Rubin.
Give my buddy a shout out. Yes,
Yeah.
conversation is content. That's exactly right. And I love what you said too, Shannon, that I don't know that we've ever really articulated it on the show, which is that people sometimes say to me, well, why do I really have to create content? Like, I'm just going to create a program. Do I really need a blog? Do I really need podcast? Do I really need video? Do I really need this Periscope? And I think what I hear you saying is that people are going to look us up and they're going to want to know who we are. And if all we have is sales letters, if all we have is copy and no content, like, what are people going to think of us, right? Like, there's nothing else.
Yeah.
So I love what you said about copy supported by content.
Yeah, we should be doing that, right? Like, this is why it's called content marketing, actually,
right.
Which could be a whole nother show, but it's the idea of using content to market yourself or your brand or your services, however you want to word that, but you do it in a way that educates. It's not pushy. Nobody wants to be pushed around in the end. That's not what we're supposed to be doing. And I think that's a big difference between heart-centered people who are making their mark in the world and internet marketers who are really just worried about numbers, like grow the list. And eventually you'll have enough people there that people will start buying something. Even if you only have 100,000 people on your list, if 1,000 buy, well, that means you also have 999,000 unengaged people.
Right. And I don't know about you, Shannon, but I don't want to have 999,000 unengaged people, right?
Me neither. No.
Let me ask you this. Do you think that, how do I ask this in a way? I'll just ask it in a way that's leading. Do you think that if you are more heart-centered, that you don't need as big numbers as the traditional internet marketing game?
Yes. I think that that's true. You don't need as big numbers. And this is also something we could talk about called attraction marketing. And you attract the kind of people who are like you if you're authentic, right? Yeah. And, I don't have a huge list. I've been building a business for 2.5 years. I don't want a huge list. My list is engaged. They're opening the newsletters every other Tuesday. They're responding on Twitter. They're finding me on Periscope. They're a community. Like, we're a community of people. And because those relationships are being built on all those places, when a class comes along that they may need, and not every class is for every person or every product is for every person, they feel comfortable then, because I've spent the time and energy and the content and the engaging copy and the heart-centered conversations and discussions, that they feel comfortable plopping down $150 for a class, right? Like, it's not even a question to them anymore.
Right. And they know you, they like you, they trust you. And you don't have to, and I like what you said, that and I think one of the differences for you and I is that we don't see emails as just something we collect, right? We see the people behind that. Each email represents a person with hopes and wishes and dreams. And what you said was also brilliant, which is the whole thing about, you have this really low conversion rate, but who cares because you have such a massive list. I think lots of heart-centered people will be like, I don't want to be leaving all these people out. Like, if I feel like these are people who could really be benefiting from my message, I'm not really okay with like not helping all these people who are somehow connected but disconnected from me.
Yeah. And there's a thing that when people come to me and they say, well, I'm switching gears and I don't want to lose all my people. How could I keep them? I'm going to rebrand. And I say to them, why would you want to keep them?
Right.
Like, maybe they don't even want to keep you, to be honest.
Right.
Like,
I mean, can you help them? It depends what you're doing, right? I mean,
yeah. And so we got to get past this idea of quality, and it's more about the quantity. And, for anyone that's listening, sometimes the thing I suggest, and I've done this on my own list, I came out as a kind of a blogging coach, and I pigeonholed myself, and I talked about blogging for a year, and I just couldn't do it anymore. I mean, there were so many other forms of content I wanted to talk about. And so I wrote a newsletter to my list about 1.5 years in, and I said, listen, of course, I spoke to one person, so it wasn't many of you, it was you. You may have signed up for my newsletters because you wanted to know about blogging. However, I may talk about blogging sometime, but now I'm also going to talk about Periscope and podcasting and video blogging and all these other forms of content that you can be using to build your business. And if this isn't for you, I invite you to unsubscribe.
Right.
And it was bold, right?
Right.
It's bold, but it's honest. And people unsubscribed that just were there for blogging, or maybe they weren't. I don't know why they were there, but it pruned down my list, and I could start growing a list again of people who wanted to hear about all forms of content.
Oh my gosh. Have you seen one of the ones that has driven me crazy, Shannon, is what I've been doing lately is every single list that I'm on, I ask myself, do I care about this person? Do they care about me? Have they made any difference in my life? If the answer is no, I'm just getting off the list.
Mm-hmm.
But what's interesting is now some of these lists, it's really hard to unsubscribe. They're doing like double opt-outs. Have you seen this?
Yes, and it's not good.
That's so sleazy.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, it's like trying to, change my cable. You just can't do it. And so I love what you're saying, that's a great takeaway for our listeners too, which is don't be afraid to lose people if it's not the right fit for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also while we're talking about lists, you can't add people that don't have permission. All right.
Yes. Thank you.
And I want to give a really great example. I mean, I'm doing a video challenge right now, and it was a public event on Facebook, and of course, people missed the registration deadline, and so I had all these people in my Facebook message, and they were friends of friends who started seeing the videos being posted for the video brand challenge, and there were probably 4 or 5 of them, and they said, "Oh, this is my email. Can you put me on the list for the brand video challenge?" And of course, first I had to say no, because as you know, everything's already set up and it's going out. Like, I'm not going to interrupt the sequence.
Right, exactly.
But what I did do is I had all their emails and I had their names. Now, the sleazy thing to do would be to go into MailChimp and add them all onto my list, right? Definitely they were interested in at least the video thing. Right. But what I did is I actually popped into each one's inbox and I said, "Hey, Natasha, I see that you're getting the information from somebody and I've enjoyed seeing your videos. Would you like to be added to my general newsletter list so you can keep up with the next challenge?" All 5 of them said yes and gave me their email again as a confirmation. Right. And this is the way that you build relationships. Like, they friended me on Facebook. I let them into the challenge, even though they had to do a little more work and get the information from someone because they missed the deadline. But then I went back and now I'm commenting on their videos, and they're also on my list, but it's because I asked them and I took the time over the last few days to build a relationship with them.
Shannon Hernandez, first of all, thank you so much for coming on and sharing great. I think you shared some really great tips and content here, so I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, we'll have to have you back. We got so much more to talk about. There's Periscope and video, and there's a whole bunch of stuff. So we'll definitely have you back. And again, if people do want to get into your world, aside from pinging you on Facebook, I'm sure there's a better way to do that. Can you tell our listeners how to get in touch with you and how to learn more about you?
Yes, please visit my website, www.thewritingwhisperer.com, and you'll see all kinds of fun stuff there, and I invite you to be part of the community.
Awesome. Shannon, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you so much, Doug.
Thanks, everyone, and thanks for listening. I want to remind you that if you've not subscribed to the podcast, go into iTunes. It takes 3 seconds, unless you don't have iTunes downloaded on your computer, in which case, reach out to me. I'll explain it to you. But you put in Coachzing Show. It takes 3 seconds to subscribe. You'll get new episodes Monday through Friday, helping you to work less, earn more, and help more people through content marketing. Till next time, this is Doug Foresta at the Coachzing Show.
Thanks for listening to the Coachzing Show. Need help getting your book out of your head and onto paper? Need help marketing your books or speaking engagements? We can do it for you. Go to Coachzing.com to learn more. Are you a coach zinger yet? Join the Coach Zingers community where the world's best coaches, therapists, authors, and speakers meet. You'll get exclusive access to private mastermind calls where you can get instant marketing help from industry experts. Plus, we'll help you forge deals and partnerships with other like-minded professionals. Go to Coachzing.com/community to join now.